Good. We'll call our November Commissioners meeting to order. Ask Reverend Caton to give us our invocation. Commissioner McElroy to lead us in our pledge.
May we pray. Heavenly Father, we come to thy presence in the name of the living Lord. Father, we ask that you bless us with understanding, compassionate hearts, and grant us wisdom to do what's right, fair, equitable, and just for every citizen of this county. And Lord, as you grant us that, we'll ever give you the praise and honor. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
May we stand?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I don't have anything.
All right, hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Public comments. We have someone signed up.
Yes, sir, Mr. Alford.
Let's go. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Earl Carney. I'm here this evening to address an issue that I brought before you in September that didn't get any action until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Mr. Hayes, a county building inspector, called me and wanted to know what my complaint was. I told him I didn't have a complaint. I had a question. There's a significant difference in a complaint and a question. And the original issue that I presented to you folks in September was the application of metal roofing to existing asphalt shingles using 1-inch furring strips. In a hurricane zone like we live in, to me that's simply a recipe for a loss. Now, my insurance premium has gone from $750 10 years ago to $1,722 this year. So I'm not here out of some altruistic motive. I'm here trying to protect my own monetary and financial interests. And if we don't mitigate through our building codes some of these practices that we've been using for the last 100 years, our homeowners insurance is going to end up like medical care. It's going to be so expensive the average person won't be able to afford it. A lot of them can't afford it today. So my question was originally, is this per North Carolina building code? Now, when Mr. Hayes called me today, he told me he had been to a seminar and that this was an accepted practice, but he didn't tell me if this seminar was conducted by the building industry, that is metal roofing, building segment of the industry, or the state building code division. And in the state, and I jumped in there, you know, I didn't want to have to come back up here. It cost me $10 driving Bellhaven up here to present these things. And I'm not interested in coming up here and speaking. I'm interested in saving myself some money, and I'm interested in you folks doing your job. You know, that's what we call representative government. You folks are supposed to represent and protect our interest and do whatever it takes to further the welfare of all of us. And if somebody would look at this and determine whether or not that process that I just delineated is within the state building code, I would appreciate it. Simple yes or no. It is or it isn't. But if we continue to build houses in the floodplain on the ground, and we continue to employ building practices that don't make any sense, then we're going to continue to see our premiums on our homeowners go out of sight. So now my request is that someone check this and see that if it is within the state. I would like a written response, because I've found in my lifetime over 72 years, sometimes verbal responses have a tendency to get lost in translation in many occasions. So a written response generally eliminates that possibility. But let me point one thing out to you, and I did this in an hour after Mr. Hayes called me. The North Carolina Residential Code for 2012 with respect to roof assemblies, 905.10.1, metal roof panel covering shall be applied to solid or space sheathing, except where the roof covering is specifically designed to be applied to spaced supports. And the only roofing manufacturer that I talked to about this issue was Union over, I believe, in Fayetteville, one of the engineers over there. And he told me he'd never heard of using of furring strips. But I'm not up here to on a crusade. I'm trying to protect my interest, and at the same time, it helps everybody. And if somebody get off their duff and look at this, it might save us some money. But look what happened in New York. We're going to have more and more of this stuff. And one of the things that we can do to mitigate this is to use our head for something besides the hat rack. And I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Manager, can we get him an answer?
I'll do it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Todd Taylor.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Todd Taylor. I'm actually the chief with Beaufort County Animal Control Department. We're here tonight just to present you an update on our department. Thank you guys for letting me be here this evening. I have a PowerPoint.
Yeah, he does.
Power's still down, I imagine.
You need this? Probably not.
Yeah, but
I don't understand it. He's got, it said out.
Oh, it's
It said,
you guys have all the printouts?
yeah.
Okay. So we'll bypass the PowerPoint and just go with the printouts that you guys have.
Page 104, 105.
I just wanted to go through some things with you guys. I guess we'll start with just first page, that's the Animal Control Department. Just hit on a couple topics here. The Animal Control Department is located at the Betsy Bailey Nelson Animal Control Facility on Highway 264 East. Our facility provides the public an opportunity to view and adopt dogs and cats that are brought in from Beaufort County. Owners may also reclaim their lost pets from our facility also. The facility is maintained and cleaned by staff 365 days a year. We actually have an on-call person 365 days of the year, and they actually work the weekends to make sure that the shelter is cleaned and maintained. Our department provides service to the residents of Beaufort County regarding stray animals, nuisances, violations of state animal laws and local ordinances, dog bites, possible rabid animals, and animal cruelty. And we run into other services on the outskirts that we end up providing on a not as regular basis. Officers respond to areas that are unsecured, possibly hostile, and are exposed to dangerous animals and diseased animals. Officers respond to these situations in the areas in the daytime, nighttime, and early morning hours where backup assistance may be unavailable. When we receive calls after hours, you may go way out in the country and you'll be on your own in an unknown situation. So, our current staff on hand with animal control, we have a chief animal control officer. We have 2 field officers, 1 officer, he's a senior officer, officer level 2. I have another officer. We have a receptionist / officer. He's also an officer due to the fact that he does pull call duty with us in a normal 4-week rotation. And then we're still in the process of filling the part-time kennel attendant. I was hoping to have that filled by the time this meeting came about, and we actually had to repost that position at this time. We currently have 4 vehicles for our department. We have a 2004 Chevy Silverado. We have 3 vehicles that are getting semi-high in mileage. The Chevy Silverado has 146,000 miles on it currently. The 2000 Dodge Ram we have also, it has 138,800 miles on it. We have a 1998 Ford F-150 with the highest mileage. It's actually sitting at 188,000 miles. The newest vehicle we have is a 2010 Ford F-150, and it's sitting at 28,500 miles currently. I took over the chief position as of August 16th of this year. At that time, I went through and did some basic updates to the facility, changed a couple things. A couple of the things that we've done, we've installed a wall-mounted donation box. Our previous process, people would donate money and it goes to the Humane Society for Beaufort County, and it was going to different hands handled by county employees. By doing this, the Humane Society is the only one that has access to these donations at this point. It's a secured lockbox on the wall that only they have a key to, so when people do donate to the Humane Society, they can put it right in that box. We've installed a secured cash drawer. Our previous situation, we had a cash box that you actually had to open on the counter, and we've actually installed a lockable box underneath the counter with a bell and chimes and all that. Thanks to Mr. John Pack with emergency management, we have a new generator at the facility. It's still in the final stages of getting that online at this point. Hopefully when that's up and running, that'll have us to where during a disaster, we're considered an emergency shelter for animals. That should have us to where we can operate at full capacity at that point. We recently did a cat room addition. It's basically closed in the part of the cat room. That was done through a donation of Steve and Charlotte Anastasian, excuse me. They actually donated $20,000 to the Humane Society, which donated that to us to enclose that cat room. That's given us 12 more cat runs, and it's made us a sick bay for animals that come in with diseases that may be spreadable. We can actually quarantine them in an isolated area before we put them in with adoptable animals. So it has its own airflow circulation in there also. We went through and painted the interior hallways. They needed a nice fresh coat, so you got a nice new look in there now. I think that's the first time they've been painted in, I think, 5-6 years that the facility's been there. We've had to go through and replace the dog run cables. The dog run cables are about 15-foot cables, and they allow access from indoors to outdoors in each dog run. Mr. Randy Walker helped us in getting those replaced, and they're all working properly at this point. We've installed an 8-camera DVR security system. The 8 cameras are covering the hallways, all the interior entrances. It's a great deterrent. It records 24/7, more or less. It's on motion sensor in case there's any sort of mishap at this facility. We can refer back to that DVR. We've updated the flood lighting and facility lighting. It's given, well, once again, a better deterrent. We've rebuilt the lighted road sign. We have a large sign out by the highway, and light fixtures in there were actually burned up, and we've had to go through and rebuild that also. Year to date on our animal statistics at this point, we have, as of October 17th, we've had 2,221 animals come into our facility. 289 of those animals were from the city of Washington, which we're currently under contract with to provide them services. 1,164 of those were cats, 1,048 of those were dogs, and we brought in 4 horses. 102 of those pets were reclaimed. 477 of those pets were adopted. 1,553 of those pets were euthanized. Our euthanasia rate, we're trying to work all the time on spay-neuter programs, something to drop the population down to where we won't have to euthanize so many animals. Of course, it's still overpopulated at this point. With those euthanasia rates, it averages out to be approximately 5 animals put to sleep every day for 10 months straight. In regards to our service and cases, year-to-date, we have 601 total cases that are varying subtypes where the public has contacted us needing assistance. Of course, again, they go back to our services in regards to abandoned animals, animal cruelty, nuisances, strays, dangerous dogs, etc. There's been a total of 117 animal bites this calendar year to date.
That you know of?
You're correct. The ones that have been reported. Correct. Rabies, that's a big topic. Calendar year to date, we've had 4 confirmed rabid animals in Beaufort County. One of those was on Asbury Church Road in Washington, North Carolina, which was actually a raccoon. One was off Brady Road in Washington, North Carolina. We've had one in Bath, North Carolina, and one in Aurora, North Carolina. In 3 of the cases, domesticated pets were exposed. In 1 of the cases, there was human exposure. The situations where the domesticated pets were exposed, of course, they were signed over to us, I believe. The human exposure, the victim was actually treated for that. Current and future updates, still being approved by the DEA for our licensing to do injection euthanasia at the facility. I've received our state license, the Department of Ag, that has cleared us on that end. Once we get approval from the DEA with that license, which we've already applied for, that'll give us the ability to euthanize by injection at the facility. Right now, anything under 4 months old has to be injected, and right now we're having to transport them to the vet's office and do the injection there, then bring them back to the facility at that point. We're in the planning stages of utilizing a $30,000 donation for the shelter. A resident of Beaufort County had passed away, and he wanted to leave some money with the Humane Society put towards the animals at the animal shelter. And like I said, we're still in the planning stages of that at this point. Once again, we're in the planning stages of setting up a low-income spay-neuter program. That's by North Carolina general statute that offers that. That would give low-income households the ability to have their animals spayed or neutered at a very reduced rate, which would help out with the population control in Beaufort County. I'm scheduling an open house event at the animal shelter, which I've recently just scheduled that, and I'll get an email out to everybody. We're going to have an open house at the animal shelter on December 6th, which I believe is a Thursday, and that'll be from 11 to 1 p.m. At the open house, we're going to do ribbon cutting for the new addition of that cat room and have the donated party there, pay them a little respect for that. Summary of that, the Animal Control Department continues to work towards a better maintained animal population in Beaufort County by utilizing a mandatory spay-neuter of pets when they are adopted. Every animal that leaves our facility through adoption is automatically going to the vet's office getting spayed and neutered. That'll help out with the population control on that. We're working on the setup of the low-cost program. We also continue to provide Beaufort County with the protection and service in regard to animal situations that are requested from us. The animal shelter is maintained by the Beaufort County Animal Control staff with the help of an outstanding volunteer program that is in place. These volunteers dedicate their time to assist in maintaining the animal shelter and making it a special place for the animals to spend their time. This year to date, as of September, the volunteers have performed a total of 2,877 volunteer hours at our facility. We appreciate all their assistance and support. They do wonders there. They dedicate all their free time to help us in that process. Our adoption rates, our dogs, right now are $65. The price includes the spay, neuter, parvo distemper shot, a bordetella shot, microchip, and wormer. Cats, they're going for $45, and the price includes spay, neuter, not the parvo distemper shot. I believe it's feline leukemia shot, bordetella shot, and microchip and wormer also. Our animal shelter hours, we are open from Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Of course, we're closed holidays. An on-call animal control officer is available for emergencies 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This officer may be reached after hours through the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. Our contact information, of course, we're at 3931 U.S. Highway 264 East, Washington, North Carolina, 27889. Our phone number's here, 252-946-4517. I was hoping this would be on the PowerPoint. But for general questions and to file an animal complaint, if the public needs any assistance, they can reach us at that number, which is 946-4517. If anybody needs to contact me directly, you can dial that same number and hit extension 23, and that'll get my voicemail. I've also included my email address on there. And that's all I have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to answer anything.
Questions from any commissioners?
In relation to your volunteers, I've had contact with several of you volunteers over there. How many people do you have volunteering over there outside of hours, do you think?
I believe there's 81 volunteers on the books. Those volunteers come at various times. I mean, throughout a 1-week period, we may have 10 different volunteers come in that week.
Where would you be without those volunteers?
I don't know. Like I said, they put in a lot of time and effort to help us out on that. It's amazing how much work they do. I mean, they help out greatly.
Do you have any specific needs that are not being addressed out there that you consider highly critical?
Highly critical, no. I feel that there will be some future needs, especially referring back to our vehicles and our mileage. And I didn't have time to put how much we're putting into these vehicles at this point, especially the one with 188,000 miles on it. We need to do some computer upgrades at some point. But like I said, that's pertinent right now. I think we're doing pretty good. Just keeping things going. So.
Anything further?
I got one thing. If you, just a word for the future. If you have anything that you'd like to tell the community from time to time, just send it to me. Stan at
Okay.
Beaufort County Now.
Okay.
I'll put it out there.
Okay.
So
Does
people
that go on a
can
web
see
page?
it. More than that.
Okay.
It's big.
Okay.
Just check it. Email me. I'll run you
Definitely
through
will.
it.
Definitely will.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. And thank you.
We knew.
Worldwide.
We knew it was coming.
I'm sorry.
Come a lot more.
Move some of the stuff over.
The Don.
I take up more space than I need.
All right, Mr. Womble's not here. Let's skip to item number 6.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, he just walked in, so.
Come right up to the front.
Good evening.
State your name and your business.
Andrew Womble, and I am the Chief Public Defender for the 1st Judicial District, and I guess the new to be Public Defender for the 2nd Judicial District when we get it off the ground, when we get that up and running. And I guess I'm here for mainly for questions, but I will certainly start with a presentation about how we got to where we are at this point. Back in January, February of this year, the local actors in the 2nd Judicial District, which is the 5-county makeup of Beaufort, Martin, Hyde, Washington, and Terrell, asked the Indigent Defense Services, which is a state agency in Raleigh, to look into establishing a public defender's office in the 2nd District for the purposes of representing indigent criminal defendants. That went on for a while, and I was participating in that study, which was basically a cost-effectiveness study. And it turned out that it would save the state about $250,000 if they moved, or if my office expanded from the 1st District, which is the 7 counties of the Northeast, Gates all the way around over to Eaton. If they just expanded my office into the 2nd District, because I was a citizen resident of Washington County anyway. And it would save the state some money to do that. So rather than create a new public defender's office for the 2nd District, they asked me if I would expand my office and take over the 2nd District as well, which of course I agreed to do. And as part of that, I began making preparations over in the first district, and I closed one of my satellite offices, that being located in Shawan County, and to make preparations to have an office located in the second district. I chose Beaufort County for all the obvious reasons that you would think of: population, caseload, travel, the number of court appearances lawyers would have to make, and it was the most cost-effective manner of establishing one office in the second district. So now the plan going forward would be to have 3 offices, one in Pasquotank County, one in Dare, and one here in Beaufort County, to serve the 12 counties that would now encompass the first and the second district public defender's office. It's also contemplated that I will hire 5 assistant public defenders.
You're getting away from the mic.
I'm sorry. That's my lawyer coming out in me, walking around, wanted to present. Would hire 5 assistant public defenders, 2 legal assistants, and also an investigator to staff the Beaufort County office. We began searching for office space in Beaufort County back in June, July, and I think we located and identified the Carawan building as being the most cost-effective. Once again, money driving all the decisions that we're making, being the most cost-effective, because we needed to be located fairly in close proximity to the courthouse to run a fiber line, because that's how we do case management, is off of the clerk's system in the located in the courthouse. In any event, there was some discussion about cost sharing of the new public defender's office, and that sort of brings us to where we are now. An interlocal agreement has been prepared. I hope that you guys have copies of that or have seen that already.
Page 173.
I have appeared in front of the Washington County Board of Commissioners, and I have appeared in front of the Terrell County Board of Commissioners, both of whom have approved the interlocal agreement that you see in front of you, conditioned on all the other 5 counties approving the same interlocal agreement. That interlocal agreement has a cost sheet set out as to what the counties would pay for my new office here in Beaufort County. It was done off of population, and obviously Beaufort will shoulder most of the cost. So I'm certainly entertain any questions that anyone has, but it looks as though all the 5 counties, and I will be in Martin tomorrow for their meeting tomorrow, and I've spoken with their clerk and Ms. Tanya Leggett, and also the county manager over there, both of whom are in favor of going forward with this interlocal agreement.
Questions from commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Booth.
Question I have is, when all this started up, we were told, and I've been made to feel like I was losing my mind, that this was a state mandate. All of a sudden, that died on the vine. It's not a state mandate. Was it ever a state mandate?
I see it as a state mandate. I don't know.
Was it ever a state mandate?
I would say yes. I'd answer yes.
Well, then we got an email saying it wasn't a state mandate, that it was where some of the locals in the community asked for it.
Correct. That was the genesis.
Well, now, is it a state mandate, or did the people ask for it? Come around to get the lawyer out of you.
I think you're asking me 2 questions, and I'm answering both. It was all public defenders' offices are requested of the legislature or IDS. They don't IDS in its original sense identified municipalities where they could save money, by establishing public defender's office. Forsyth, Mecklenburg, Wake, Greensboro, things like that. In the more rural counties, the system actors have come forward and requested, just as they did in the first district, come forward and requested a public defender's office. But once the request was made, comment period was established, IDS was authorized to move forward with a public defender's office. So Originally, the genesis was, yes, the state actors requested a public defender's office, but then IDS complied and said, okay, here it comes.
And then the second part of my question is it the way it started, Beaufort County had an overabundance of attorneys. The counties that requested it didn't have no attorneys. Am I correct in that part?
No, sir.
Okay. That's what I was told
No, sir.
by some of the people.
Okay.
Because there wasn't any attorneys in Hyde. They had a very few in Martin and a very few in Washington. They was being covered basically by the attorneys in Washington, which is Beaufort County.
My office actually covers Washington County and Terrell County as we speak.
Okay.
And that was, we've been doing that for about 4 years, back when William Griffin was still in office. Judge Griffin requested of the state legislature that they give me 2 additional lawyers for the purposes of serving Washington and Terrell counties, specifically for what you have mentioned, which is a lack of attorneys. So we've been in Washington and Terrell for about 4 years. The genesis of this was the local senior resident, Mr. Waylon Sermons, your chief district court judge, the president of the Bar Association of the 2nd District, who supposedly would speak for all the members of the bar, the clerks of court, and the heads of probation. Those were the people. And I would assume, and I was at the meeting where they all voted unanimous to move forward. So it wasn't a lack of attorneys. Maybe it was a lack of attorneys doing criminal work, but it was all 5 counties unanimous requesting.
And the people that you're hiring that said that it was because that we didn't have the attorney, are these right out of law school attorneys that you're hiring?
No, sir. No, sir. I will attempt to hire some right out of law school because you want, as the pay scale is set up, I get a pool of money that I have to divide.
And that pay scale, I think, is how much do they pay a lawyer for taking indigent work?
Well, the state reimburses private lawyers at $55 an hour, but my lawyers would be on salary.
An electrician make about $75 an hour.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No,
Not,
not my
not
electrician.
around here.
Good ones make $155 an hour.
But you have
Maybe just for lawyers.
I mean, the part that I had, and
That's what they charge.
I told it, the one that told me that I was wrong, that it wasn't a mandate, so I'm glad you come in here and corrected it and said it was a mandate, but I'm satisfied with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I've got one question, is if there was a comment period set up and this thing was voted on by this ad hoc committee, and the commissioners and the taxpayers have to come up with the money, why is it that the last people that ever heard anything about this was the county commissioners? I don't remember ever being notified of a comment period.
I don't think I can answer that question. I think it was moderately rhetorical that you ask it. I understand exactly where you're coming from, Mr. Richards. The mandate that came forward was actually in the biannual budget bill, and it basically said that IDS could move forward with expanding public defender's office into places that currently didn't have services. Now, as far as the comment period, I'm not sure, and I have not looked as to exactly who must be notified during that comment period. My understanding was it was only to system actors, and certainly your point is made that you were, as the writers of the check, you were certainly, I would consider system actors, but obviously weren't notified of the comment period. So your point is well made with me. I understand.
I have one question. And then you can answer this, or you can answer this, Mr. Manager. Did we go out on bids for this space?
No, we did not. We looked at a number of sites, probably 4 or 5 different sites, some here, some in the city. We even looked at a site in town of Chocowinity, and what it came down to were the cost of providing that fiber connection were going to be phenomenal if we could not get something close here to the courthouse.
So I saw something like $6,500 plus cable or that we're going to have to pay. Was that the boring that I read?
There has to be a boring under the street out there, and it cannot be run overhead, is my understanding. It has to be all underground.
And it can't be done through just internet access?
I believe so.
Maybe the cloud, that some people like to call it, but which is just internet access.
We had an AOC representative come down, a technology person that looked at the offices, and
So it's a direct link between the courthouse and this building.
And the AOC, correct.
And it has to be that way.
And their
it's just a
network.
direct pipe, so to speak.
Yes, sir. It's my understanding.
We may be able to cut some costs by connecting to the district attorney's office.
Okay. That's on the same side of the street.
Yeah,
We
it's on the
can
same
have
side of
it exploring that. May save some.
Exactly.
It's kind of an intranet, so to speak.
Correct.
Commissioner Clinton.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about the employees being on salary.
Yes, sir.
They state employees, I assume?
Yes, sir.
And what would their salary be, including benefits, approximately per employee?
For attorneys, it's average, including benefits, is about $90,000.
$90,000.
Yes, sir.
Another thing you mentioned, you used the number of savings of $250,000 with something. What were you talking about?
Correct. That would be the difference between having my office expand versus establishing a new public defender's office with a separate public defender. And basically that cost is administrative.
Okay.
So
it's not a quantitative analysis of any sort?
Well, it was a fairly lengthy process that we went through on caseloads, and I don't have it in front of me, and I apologize for that. But we spent a couple of months going through the average caseloads here in the 2nd District and what the best way to apportion that over attorneys. And so I'm not sure if I'm answering your question correctly, but we didn't just throw darts at the board.
Okay.
I have another question.
I had one last
Yes, sir.
question. Could you explain to the citizens of Beaufort County how this is going to be better than what we presently have?
The public defender system is very akin to specializing in medicine. I'm going to have attorneys on my staff who specialize in adult criminal caseloads, and that's misdemeanors to felonies, from capital murder to second-degree trespass. And so what you're going to get is you're going to get the wheels of justice will turn a little bit faster. And you're also going to get very competent, qualified attorneys who are going to represent your citizens of Beaufort County and any friends, loved ones that may find themselves situated before a criminal court in Beaufort County. Additionally, you are going to get, with the expediency process, hopefully you're going to see a cost savings in your jail population, because we are going to process cases faster than private attorneys. Private attorneys are in the business of making money, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't mean that they're going to specialize in criminal law. So if they have a retained case in Martin County and they have court-appointed cases in Beaufort County, they are going to go to the retained case in Martin, and you're going to see multiple continuances, which is the process that we have now, which is why cases stay on the docket as long as they do. It's why your jail population, the average length of time that someone stays incarcerated that you pay for here in Beaufort County is longer in counties that have a private assigned counsel system versus the public defender system. So you will see a cost savings there. And finally, the cases will be disposed of in a manner in which You're not going to see cases coming back on appeal. It just doesn't happen in the public defender system. I mean,
But basically, the indigency list of the court-appointed attorneys, that will no longer exist once your office opens.
that is correct.
Okay.
What will happen is we will maintain a separate list. My office then now becomes the pass-through for all criminal cases. The judge will review an affidavit, and if he finds a person indigent, which is a varying scale depending on how serious the crime, of course, that the person is charged with, and he'll say, I find that the person's indigent. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office. That person comes through our system, through our fiber line, which we connect through the clerk's office, and then I make the appointment. Or I review all cases, I look at people's caseloads, and I say, okay, you need to send that to Lawyer X because Lawyer X can handle a case of that serious magnitude. And so when we get conflicts with multiple defendants, we maintain a list of private lawyers who also have to come in and help us out because the State Bar considers us a law firm. And so we cannot, if you have multiple co-defendants, we can only represent one, and we have to farm out anybody that's associated with a co-defendant. That's pursuant to the State Bar.
Commissioner Richardson?
Well, I think he's answered most of the questions I had, but what the public needs to be aware of is, everybody wants to slur over the word. Well, who are we representing? We're representing the indigent. This is free law that you, the taxpayer, are paying for, and you need to understand that. So it's not a good thing. I am still an advocate of putting a lien on every person that goes through these programs. And people say, well, you'll never get your money. They're indigent to begin with. But it's the principle of the thing. And the way we're doing the law right now in North Carolina is really a terrible system that the taxpayer pays. For the criminal, they pay to lock him up. They pay for his lawyer. On this thing goes. And we need to take a look at how we're doing law in North Carolina because we're doing it wrong.
Well, let me just say this. Even with the way that we're doing it now with the indigency list, most offenders who get placed on, let's say, supervised probation, their attorney fees are included in their supervision, unless the judge strikes the attorney fees or whatever other fees he wants to strike. At the same token, I'm sure this same principle will follow right over into the public defender's office where they are assessed. These are fees which go back to the state. And one of the things that I have to say, and it may get me in trouble, somebody may want to slap my hand, is I see a lot of attorneys who take advantage of this system. They lie about how many hours they have invested in a case, and they know they haven't worked those hours, and they get this money. So to me, this is a way to stop some of the abuse. So I don't have a problem with the public defender's office per se until I really see how you do business. But beyond that, right now, I can simply say that attorneys take advantage of the system. And I'm not saying all attorneys do that, but there are some who know they haven't spent any time with their clients, and the first time they actually see their clients is the day that the client comes up into the courtroom, and that is sad, and that is pathetic, and so hopefully and prayerfully this will put an end to that.
Well, I ain't gonna slap your hand, but I've seen the same thing happen through public defender's offices.
Yeah.
I mean, I might as well tell you the truth.
Well, it's not going to happen in my office.
Huh?
It's not going to happen in my office.
Well, I hate to tell you it happened in your office.
Well, I'd love.
I worked in the same second judicial district, and the hardest working public defender that I have seen right now that I have worked with, and she have got so, or she or he have got so that she ain't got the same spirit that she had when she first went, and that's in Pitt County. I have worked with several of them. They come in. I mean, it's the same thing. But
I don't have anything to do with Pitt County.
Well, I said that, but I'm just telling you, the same kids.
Well, I don't know. I don't supervise people in Pitt County.
Yeah, well, the one that I had in your office, in my office, you supervised.
I would like to know who that person is.
Well, if you was a good supervisor, you know who it was.
All right, Commissioner Clem.
Just
I'd love to talk to you afterwards about it.
just one
They're gone.
just one last thing. You put people on salary,
Yes, sir.
and I start worrying about utilization and productivity and effectiveness and how well they are utilized, and whether being on salary puts them in a mode of where they just sort of coast, or how do you ensure that they're kept up to snuff in relation to work rates and things like that?
Well, it would be just like you, I mean, you know, there's an opportunity to advance in.
I mean, do you have 6 doing the work of 3, or do you have 3 doing the work of 6?
Well, we generally carry about 250 cases at any one time, and my lawyers in the first judicial district cover about 3 counties, and they are on the road every single day, in court every single day, and I struggle to find time for them to actually have an office day to sit back and do some paperwork and fill out reports for me so that I know how many cases we're disposing of. The people that do this work are not getting rich. They've got $250,000 worth of personal loans that they've spent going to law school, and they're coming out and they're working at $40,000 a year, and they're by the good graces of the taxpayers through the North Carolina Leaf Foundation, they're able to make some kind of minimum payments on these student loans that they have, with a hope in maybe 6 or 7 years that they might be making $80,000 a year, paying $1,500 a month on student loans. These people are doing this because they love the work, and but I've got 12 lawyers that work for me, and I'll trust them to do their job. And I would trust them to represent loved ones that I have.
May I say the answer to the previous question is, you always have a workable backlog?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything further? Okay, we thank you.
Thank you.
Item is
Do we have to approve the interlocal agreement?
I don't think,
not tonight.
I don't think we should approve it till we get them from the 4 other counties.
That's why I was saying not tonight.
We're still waiting for
Right.
a couple others. Say that again. Right. We have it later in the agenda for
Right.
further discussion.
Okay.
May I address one other thing? I forgot. If you would just take a look at the population of, I don't know if y'all have seen that.
We've seen that.
It's a local agreement.
Terrell County is actually 4,800 versus the
I was
8,800.
wondering what that number.
I knew that
It
man
did
was
look
wrong.
like a lot of people.
I knew that percentage, the population was more than the percentage was less. I said, something ain't right.
Exactly. When I met with the commissioners down there, they wanted to find that other 4,000.
How would you find space for this 4,011 that's not swamp?
Not an alligator, I guess.
Exactly.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Okay, item number 6, who's doing that one, the quick claim deed?
Mr. Chairman, that is more of an FYI item. We would like for y'all to take action on it, but it would be after we conducted the action that you all would be approving it. But essentially what it was, you all approved the U.S. Cellular contract, the execution of that contract, which would get us $14,400 a year in revenue for a small footprint out there behind the county home. When your county attorney and the U.S. Cellular folks out of Chicago were doing some deed research, they discovered that the original deed on that property to Beaufort County was done in 1829, I believe, was recorded. And it was recorded as Wardens of the Poor of Beaufort County, or Beaufort County Wardens of the Poor. In actuality, we know that as Beaufort County. The folks at U.S. Cellular had a little bit of problem with that, executing a lease agreement, and they were in quite a hurry to get that deed fixed and remedied. And so we simply worked with the county attorney to make that deed change, modification happen. So we're just letting you know. We would actually recommend that you all take action in approving that, even though it's after the fact, just so we have something on the record. But essentially, you're just modifying the name that was on the deed, which was Beaufort County Warden of the Poor, to County of Beaufort, to accurately depict the owners of that property.
Okay.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay, Mr. Mayo.
Okay, the next item are two foreclosed properties that we obtained at the courthouse door, and we've been, the folks have shown some interest in bidding on them. One is on 5th Street, West 5th Street. That's the first one. It's on page 124 in your annual land. And that is a parcel of land. It's two small houses there. They're subject to being condemned. The proposed owner would like to try to rehabilitate them and do something with it. He made an offer of $500. And that offer is before you to approve if you so desire. It's been advertised, and nobody has raised that bid. And at this point, it's either Beaufort County keeps the property and continues to maintain or do whatever's necessary, or we go ahead and let this purchase Christopher Banks, which is purchased for $500, and we've got a resolution for you to adopt if you see fit. Advertising, all that has been done. You go ahead and convey it to Mr. Banks.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
And you got one more, and this was one that was good news. It's property at 702 Gladden Street. And we had an original offer of $3,000 on that property. It's a two-story frame building. And an offer was made of $3,000, and it has been advertised and gone through numerous upset bids. And now your final bid was $9,500. And it's been advertised, and nobody's raised beyond that. So now it's up for the commissioners to approve that sale to a Johnny Norvin. And that'll be your second resolution. And that's on page 125 in your docket book.
Okay. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 7-0.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, this may be a good time to do that Mr. Pack's matter if you want to do that.
Does this money come back to Beaufort County?
You mean on these? Yeah, what happened, Mr. McRoy, we bid them in at the courthouse door for delinquent taxes. Both of these properties, they had, by the time you went through the foreclosure fees and that type of thing, you had $6,000 or $7,000 for some of them. So the county, everybody got the taxes. That'd be the city did, or the municipalities, but the county is stuck with the property. We haven't gotten our money back yet. And this is the way we're trying to get it. We sell it off.
I understand. So we, out of this money, we don't have to pay nobody else any money.
No, we're out, we get this, we get the property will go back on the tax book. Right now, it is not on the tax book.
Right.
And it's subject to any fees that could be assessed for, the mowing or whatever it is that the municipalities, they can send a bill and we have to pay it because it's our property. Does that answer your question?
Okay, we can,
It's a house.
is it Fire Marshal?
Mr. Pack. It'd be on page 220, 24, 225, down on the, in your hand, in your addition to the agenda. And
Commissioners, basically, thank you, Mr. Woodruff, for getting me added to the agenda. Through a regular review that we do every 6 months in the office, we discovered that we have currently been increasing the number of fire inspections that are required. And as I showed commissioners earlier, We have the requirement to do some inspections every 3 years, some every year, and some every other year by the state building code. Over the time frame since Hurricane Irene, it's been a very busy time. Mr. Avery, the county's fire marshal, who does it 22 hours a week, has been trying, but he also helped extensive hours with Irene, the tornadoes, McCotter's Marina fire, and we did all those things, and ended up taking away from some of his time to do the other duties. Although he volunteered a lot of hours, we still got behind on these inspections. When he came in 6 years ago, we were 282 inspections behind. We've gotten it down to about 75. It's crept back up. My job is to advise you all of where we stand, submit a resolution to you, which I have done. That's the amount of money that's necessary to correct the position, or at least get it back to a manageable number of 20 to 25. The solution is in front of you. My job is to recommend that you all approve it. If we cannot afford it, that's your all's call too. But this would allow us to get back into a situation where we can best manage it. And I will admit to you all right now that there are a lot of small faith-based organizations, facilities that we're behind on. Those are the 3-year
Okay,
requirement.
if you will speak your recommendation into that mic.
I would recommend, sir, that you all approve the requested $9,700 to allow us to hire a temporary employee and the use of a surplus sheriff's vehicle to allow us to catch these inspections up. This is a one-time submission. We've set and carefully calculated this. We believe we can accomplish this at this time with this amount of money, and that is what I'm requesting, sir,
Okay.
that the commission do.
What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Question. Once you're caught up with the temporary help, what are the chances of you staying caught up?
Sir, pending there being no other hurricanes, tornadoes, or other events.
So this could be a future occurrence, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir, and if I may be allowed, I will enumerate one thing. We did have another full-time position in the office. The person that left that position was a qualified emergency manager. Had we had that person in place and that position was funded, then I do not feel we would be this far behind on the inspections, because I would have had someone I could bring out to assist me in disaster work on a regular basis who would already been an employee of the county. Now, you asked, sir, so that would be my future intent.
Okay, anything further?
No.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? 6-1.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, next we have a closed session.
Yes, we did.
Someone read that closed session, economic development.
Is that the new guy?
Oh, yeah. Fine. It's high text.
Page 191.
It's not a bad guy.
You need to ask
I believe we also need to add, Mr. Chairman, attorney-client privilege as well.
You all like
Okay.
him compared to Tom.
Do you need both of them?
We got it.
Closed session, we can do
I'm
that.
still gonna vote against all we can.
Yeah, he said attorney-client.
Both, for
I
both.
don't know what he's got.
Is that two separate ones, or we can do it all in one?
You need to make a motion to incorporate
Both.
of those general statutes that are written.
Okay.
Or should-
I'm done.
that's two different,
I'm done with this.
Okay,
two statutes.
okay.
It's on page 191.
Do I read both of them?
Yes, he reads both of them.
All right. I move we go into closed session under NCGS 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body. And also, I move to go into closed session under NCGS 143-318.11A4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of business in the areas served by this body.
A motion, there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, go into closed session, raise your right hand. Opposed? 7-0. We're in closed session.
Let's see, we're going to want the economic developers.
I move we come out of closed session.
The second.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we're back in open session. There will be no action as resulting from our closed session, and now we'll take our evening break. We'll be back at 7. All right, we're back in session. We have a public hearing scheduled for 7. We're about 2 minutes late. Entertain a motion to have our public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. We're into public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting for anybody to come up and speak in regards to this, the public hearing is a requirement from the CDBG program for a potential building reuse grant that you all have indicated possible interest in exploring options and applying for. As we discussed at the last meeting, when you all approved the sale of the Quick Start 2 building, the company that was purchasing that building had indicated an interest in pursuing a building reuse grant, which is a grant that would allow them to upfit the building, the Quick Start 2 building, for their operations. The grant is kind of it's a little deceiving because the grant is actually a loan to the company in the amount of $20,000 per job created for a total of $750,000. But the loan is a forgivable loan. After 5 years, the loan will be forgiven entirely, with 20% of the loan being forgiven each year that the company demonstrates it has created the jobs. It actually gets 3 years to create the jobs, so the first 2 years are forgivable. You're now in a public hearing, and anybody in the public that wants to speak can speak as to this proposal. Kevin Richards is here as well, and he can add anything you want.
Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none. Entertain a motion.
I move we come out of public hearing.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next item is a resolution that expresses your intent for your staff to work in the application process with the company to apply for the grant. I think maybe, Mr. Manager, if you allow me, it might be a good time to introduce Bob Hughes. Mr. Hughes is our new Economic Development Director, and might be a good time to introduce him to the public. And as we talk about this, Bob may have some input as well. But I think our intent with this resolution is simply to give the county staff the in conjunction with Mideast Commission and the business permission to go ahead and pursue this grant opportunity for the company, and doesn't necessarily indicate your agreement with the approval of the grant if it's granted by the state at the end.
It's just the application.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Mr. Hughes, I will let you introduce yourself.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. So I am now the director of the EDC program for Beaufort County. I look forward to working with you. I think relative to this particular project, I think it's an opportunity to work with an existing business or maybe a new business that's part of an existing business, and an opportunity maybe to create some new jobs and some more value out there at the industrial park. So this is along the lines of what I think is very important for our community and economic development in general. And I look forward to working with you as we work through this particular processes and new processes that we'll have here. So, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, part of the direction you've given the staff for the county over the last, I guess, 6 or 8 months is in pursuing grants that don't create a huge liability in the long term for the county. So as we apply for this grant, we're going to be with Mr. Hughes and Kevin Richards going to be putting together the information that you all are requesting that we put together for all the information for this and be brought back to you before you all will approve the actual grant/loan if the grant is awarded by the state. So we would need a motion to approve this if you so desire.
What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Just one other comment. This is the magic man right here. So he puts all the programs together. We'll work with him to make sure it gets you guys all the information that you need. So we appreciate that.
Okay.
Back, Kevin.
All right, I'm going to interject Captain Keys from the jail. She has some information for it. It's really Captain Ross, I'm sorry.
Katrina.
How about Captain Katrina?
Good afternoon. I do appreciate the board allowing me to come out this afternoon. I will be before you only a brief second. If so, I'm not sure if you guys got the layout that I sent over earlier in reference to the Beaufort County Detention Center visitation. We're trying to implement video visitation. It will save money and eventually pay for itself. Video visitation will stop the people, the public, family members and things of that nature from coming inside the facility. It'll bring about a more secure environment for everybody. Right now we bring our family members inside the facility for visitation twice a week. On weekends, video visitation would completely cut that out. It would allow attorney visits without the attorneys actually having to come into the facilities. Video visitation will be set outside what used to be the old breathalyzer area. That room has already been vacated a year or so back for this particular project. The project was started earlier and came to a stop due to money issues, I'm thinking, and now it's back up on the table again. It's something that, like I said in the beginning, could really pay for itself. With the video visitation, the inmates would be allowed to purchase additional visits from their family at a set rate, of course. The money would be put in place before the program is put in place, and the information will be put out to the family members. Right now, they're see their family members 15 minutes per visit. They're allowed 3 visitors. So that's at any given time, 3 different people coming in to see 8 different inmates at any one given time throughout the day, throughout a rotation on Saturdays and Sundays. Visitation used to be during the week on Wednesdays, and we rotated that out. Now we have it on Saturdays and Sundays, which is still a really big security risk because, you know, you have to realize that these people that are coming in are always liable. They could bring in contraband or anything. You can't strip search them or anything like that. We try to contain it with only allowing them to bring in certain objects, but still you always have that security issue at hand. In the back of your presentation that I put together for you, it's just a slight cover of a way that we could incorporate the video visitation booths through our commissary providers, through our phone providers, the inmate phone system that we already have in place. The people that provide that for us, they would go in partnership with a person that could incorporate the video visitation as far as implementing part of the funds. I have not went into details of discussing that because I knew I had to come before you guys to get approval for the video visitation. Some numbers have been put together prior to this meeting tonight and given to the assistant county manager, and he's looked over that, and we've already checked out everything, the installation and how all of that would take place. If you look at your packet, it gives you pictures of the video visitation booths. I know right now the big talk of the county is getting a new facility built, which, you know, that's really what we need, but meanwhile, we're trying to maintain and update what it is that we already have in place. These booths are movable. If they're installed now in the facility that we're presently in, they can be uprooted and moved over at no additional cost. I mean, it's just a matter of manpower hours of picking up and moving them and wiring them up when the new facility is put up. So that's not spending money now, then have to spend the same money again later, because these booths are movable. And like I said, if you look at your second page, it tells you right now of how much money, give or take, that we're spending as far as man hours, is taking people to psychological visits, taking people out to doctor visits, just general routine doctor visits. It's true that we have a nurse on staff, but sometimes we have to go outside of the facility for visits, for therapeutic care, things of that nature, medical updates, for them to have the medications refilled. We have to have manpower hours for that. We have to have a deputy in place to take them out. The deputy has to sit there with them and transport to and fro, back and forth at all times. They can do first appearance arraignments with the video visitation, because when it's installed into the facility, there's also a laptop that would be incorporated up in the judge's chambers, which would allow the judge to do first appearances. That means you don't have to worry about the bailiffs or deputies leaving the courtroom and leaving it unsecure, coming downstairs, transporting the inmates back and forth to court. That's another, you know, a pro on the side of installing the video visitation. And like I said, again, getting back to the psychological visit, right now, going back and forth to Dreams, Tideland, and other places like that, because we have to allow these people their psychological visits and medications. So right now, you're looking at least 3.5 hours per visit. That means you have to have a deputy to come in, shackle this inmate up, take him out to a facility for his appointment, sit there while he talks to the psychiatrist, an hour, hour 15, hour 20 minutes, ever how long the visit lasts, and wait for the inmate, bring him back. So installing video visitation would take care of all of this as far as those things are concerned, unless an emergency or something comes up and you have no other choice.
Okay, question from commissioners.
I'd like to be able to study this. I don't want to make a decision
Oh,
tonight.
we're not making, this is just informational purposes.
Oh, okay, because there's a lot of stuff to be done there. The room that the public is going to use, is it inside the jail now?
No, sir, it's not. It is, when you walk down the front of the courthouse by the magistrate's office, it's the first door on your left. It is not inside the jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is not. The
breathalyzer room.
public would no longer enter
I've
the
never had any
facility.
experience in the breathalyzer room, so, you know, I don't know.
Oddly, neither have I.
That's true, man. Oddly, you have.
With
I
the
guess it's
video,
first for everything, right?
excuse me, with the video visitation, the public would no longer come into the facility. The pastoral visits, social workers, none of that no longer would have to come inside of the facility. All of this would be handled right up front.
Yeah, I think I'm for it. I need to see a lot of detailed information. I mean, you mentioned to begin with that it would pay for itself. I would like to see a set of books put together that are real books that show what our advantages and disadvantages, you know, are money-wise for this.
Any other commissioners?
Yes, sir. Jim, what's the cost of this?
Do you remember? I don't, it's not in, is it 20, was it 24,000?
You had a total cost of probably $43,900. And that would be before the people come in from the phone and things of that nature and give us the contributing part as far as the booths are concerned, but that would be overall. Part of that work has already been done. This project has been in place for the last 4 years, in and out of the budget. I placed it in the budget, it was removed, and placed it in the budget again. Part of the work was done, then part of it was stopped mid-drift. And then I replaced it back in the budget last year, it was taken out, and I replaced it back in the budget again this year, and it was taken out. So this is a reiteration of it again, because I'm trying to do pro-maintenance, keeping something from happening in the jail.
Okay.
And to speak on that, you know, your next question, I'm not going to interrupt you, but your next question may be, how are we going to pay for it? And Captain Ross has done a very good job, and part of the reason some of these projects have been put on hold for a number of years is because historically our cost of shipping inmates out of the jail have been so high. And over the last couple of years, Captain Ross has done a really good job of containing inmates within our own facility. And you'll notice that in the historical line items, inmate safekeeping. And when Captain Ross and I met and looking at her financials this year, it's estimated she's probably going to force out about $60,000 to $80,000 out of her line item for that this year if she keeps on track with the way she's going now. And she's doing that again by keeping the inmates within the facility and managing those inmates within the facility, even when she's indicated before that the facility is you're looking at 85 to 90 inmates. I guess you would probably claim more than that in some cases, but either way, we were spending back in 07, 08, 09. We were spending somewhere around 100 and 150,000 a year. A lot of times sending female inmates out. We had that problem before. And then sending inmates up to the state prison in Raleigh for safekeeping, and that's just not happening anymore. So.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a benefit analysis, a return on investment, and the actual physical layout. Include anything in the benefits analysis that deals with safety, risk, or anything, including whatever money you might be involved specifically. And I think that'd make the decision fairly easy.
Yeah.
I want
to see the money.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
I don't know whether this qualified or not, but is this one of these projects that you can use some of that drug seizure money for?
Well,
think so.
I'm not sure about the drug seizure money, but it is a project that we probably could use some of the commissary money for that's been generated over the years, because revenue comes in from commissary, revenue comes in from our phone system over there in the jail, from the inmates using the phones, from the inmate buying commissary. For the last 3 years, I have kept up with the commissary money pretty good, and I mean, the money that's been brought in just from commissary could pay for this phone system 3 times.
Wow.
Right now. I mean, I've been keeping up with it since I became captain.
Does your $43,000
Hold on, Commissioner.
Is this the project that was started when we put that plexiglass in a few years ago? That some of the wiring has already been done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Part of the wiring had already been done, and then it just got stopped.
Commissioner Richardson.
Okay, the $43,000, is that installed or is that hardware?
That's everything.
That's installed.
Yes, sir. That would cover everything. That would cover the setup, the installation, the items that you would need. Everything. It covers everything.
I with Commissioner Clem in that, when we see a set of books that mean something, with the estimates of the revenue and the source of the funds to do this, then, I'm probably ready to go with it based on what I'm hearing tonight. But I want to see those numbers on some paper in a report that we can go back to, because that's a part of our oversight responsibility.
Let me say one thing.
Okay.
The one limiting factor, at least for me in some respects, would be that as we proceed to have a new jail, we're spending money that we don't need to spend because it's going to be useless once we build the new jail.
She said you can move it. You can move it from the old one to the new.
It's going to be built in.
Well, if she's using the kinds of booths that I have seen on the jail tours that we have been through, then it is movable.
There ain't no problem with that.
It is movable, yeah.
There isn't no problem.
And if I may say something,
All right.
you said something about it'll be built into the new facility. Even with it being built into the new facility, you have to purchase those booths separately.
I did not know that.
Yes, sir. They don't automatically come with a new facility. You have to go in and state what types of visitation booth you want set up and everything. The people would still have to come in. But if you already have it in place, it would just be transferred. The wiring would automatically come, but they could transfer your booths from the current facility to the new one.
Okay. Anything further? We thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Julian Goff. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Al Kutzing from Aurora with Julian Goff from Belhaven and several Belhaven Chamber of Commerce folks here. We're here to propose to form a committee to study the feasibility of a Beaufort County Tourism Development Authority. For a number of years, this has been talked about in the municipalities. In fact, going back as far as 2010, all of the municipalities except Washington had signed resolutions that they thought a study committee would be advantageous to go through this. What we're proposing is to determine the purpose of it, obviously, define how the Tourism Authority would serve each of the municipalities in the areas surrounding them. The membership we thought would be well served by having one member appointed by each of the municipalities of Aurora, Bath, Belhaven, Chocowinity, and Pentago, and Washington Park. And also we asked for 3 members to be appointed by the Board of Beaufort County Commissioners. That doesn't exclude commissioners if they would like to be a part. We'd love to have them. The scope of the work to be included would be to define why the authority would exist, define a list of objectives that would be achieved by the Tourism Authority, and the organization would include a detailed description of the board makeup, chairman, officers and procedures, member terms and duties. The operation of the authority, a description of how the authority will operate. Specific activities would be a detailed listing of activities carried out by the authority. The funding of the authority would come from an occupancy tax. A study would determine the sources and expected revenue. Information on the effects and benefits of historic tourism and county tourism authorities in other counties would certainly be part of this. Beaufort County tourism, information on present tourism efforts that take place in Beaufort County outside the city of Washington. Obviously, we come down to what benefits would the county realize from a tourism authority, and we would define anticipated return on investment, additional revenue brought into county due to efforts and number of jobs created. And obviously, we come up to conclusions and recommendations, and we would complete that work and have it submitted to the Beaufort County Commission for review.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
I have one.
Sure.
So this is going to be excluding City of Washington.
It would be over and above the city of Washington, right?
Where would you get the occupancy tax?
Well, we would study it in terms of there is not that much in terms of occupancy tax that we ought to be. We had estimated that there may be 30,000, somewhere in that 40,000 in that regard.
Or is there like a bed and breakfasts that you would?
Bed and breakfasts would certainly be subject to the occupancy tax. I think they are in Washington now. It would be extending the same tax to the.
But it wouldn't. You wouldn't be getting money from those people such as Washington.
No, that would be a separate thing. The occupancy tax that would be charged for those people in municipalities would contribute to this Tourism Development Authority. Occupancy tax
The old Lemon Tree Inn in Chocowinity, right?
There you go.
Is there anything else? Is there anything in Belhaven or?
There's bed and breakfast. There's campgrounds would be part of it in terms of, and they may extend even further. There may be situations where rooms are rented or something of that nature that we would look into further. But obviously, the committee would determine that. And obviously, it's terribly important to see how much money there would projected to be.
And these proprietors would collect the tax?
They would collect 6% occupancy tax, the same as they do in the city of Washington. So would it be equity?
Any of these guys yet, the proprietors of these prospective?
No. I mean, I think that, I think they're aware of it. It's certainly fair in the city of Washington. It should be the same in the county. The occupancy taxes, obviously, we pay this when we go someplace else. We're paying the occupancy tax to bring tourists into the county, into other places. So I think it's the same parity here.
Anything further?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I see a lot of these reports from tourism, and I see a lot of statistics from tourism, and I think Warren Smith has knocked the last report square in the head. If we had as many tourists as the people that are promoting tourism say that we have, everybody in Beaufort County would have 3 people in their house that would be paying them rent on a room. There's just not enough hotels to take all these people. I think from what I've seen on tourism in the city of Washington, the best advertisement the city of Washington would have is we don't have a tourism tax. You're going to save money if you stay in our motels and stay in town and eat in our restaurants. There's not there. It's like it's a lot like economic development. There's not much out there to economically development, and in this kind of economy, there's not much out there of people that are traveling around wanting to stay on farmland as part of a tourist trip. I am not willing to vote for anything that's going to create a new tax or require any person that's running a business in Beaufort County to use his money and his time to collect a tax to give to somebody else where we don't see a benefit from it. And I'll be frank with you, I don't see a benefit from the city of Washington tax that they collect. It's wasted money as far as I'm concerned.
Anybody else, Commissioner?
And I don't think we should empower this committee.
Over the last 10 years, there's been talk of, hey, we need a countywide tourism authority. And various groups have talked about it. Some people say, well, it's justified. We ought to just go ahead and do it. And you get other opinions of, well, it's a waste of money. You get opinions of, well, Washington Tourism Authority is just for Washington. The outer areas of the county, they really don't get as much benefit as they could from the tourism authority. The groups come and go. One of the things that has happened is each of the towns, the municipalities outside the city of Washington, have all passed a resolution saying that we need a countywide tourism authority for the towns outside of Washington, the areas outside of Washington. It includes all the municipalities passed that resolution. I think it's time that somebody goes ahead, does a feasibility study, and determines whether it's feasible or not feasible, and comes back to this board with a recommendation of whether it's good or bad. But to say that we're just going to put it down and not give the citizens of Beaufort County the opportunity to go ahead and do a study to determine this on their own time as volunteers is ridiculous. I think if they want to do it, we let them do it, and maybe they will accomplish something. But if we don't let them do it, they're not going to accomplish nothing.
But why do they need us to say whether they can do it or not? If they just want to do it, they can just do it.
Yeah, the towns that want this can band together and do their own tourism authority and tax everybody they want to tax.
Well, I believe they sort of want our blessing to do it. They want the county to sort of be a little bit involved in this.
Well,
and
I vote to raise taxes. That's all there is to it.
I have no problem with doing that.
Anybody else?
No.
What's the pleasure?
I make a motion that we bless the efforts and let them go ahead and do their study. And whatever they find, they bring back to us, and we go ahead and study it and see what we find.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Well, you know my feeling on economic development. I believe in economic development. I just don't believe government should be involved in it. I think government is a very poor allocator of resources, very poor allocator of resources. And I don't want to bless something that may turn out to be yet another boondoggle. And we've had gracious plenty of them here in Beaufort County. So, I mean, if I had calls from people who are going to be asking people for their taxes when they submit their bill, I'd be okay with it. They're the people. They're the bottleneck that's going to have to collect those taxes. If they would call me and say, hey, Stan, please, we want this. We want this. We want people to stay at our place. We want to charge them an additional tax. And I think it's a good thing. I would go for it. Hell, Hood might even go for it.
No, I wouldn't go for it. I'm not going to raise taxes. I'm not going to vote to raise taxes.
But
why would I do that?
Until such time I get people that own businesses where people stay and listen, we want to charge another tax because we think it'll help our business. I can't see doing it.
All right.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, one of the best examples of the Washington Tourism Authority and how ineffective it is look at the sign that's between here and Williamston on Highway 17, and look at the sign that's going south on Highway 17. Nobody can understand the sign. It's a lot of money that is totally wasted. If you drive by at 55 miles an hour and stare at that sign long enough to understand it, you will be dead. You're going to run right off the road. I mean, these things create jobs for people, and you need to understand what you're getting into. You're going to have a tourism director for Beaufort County, and we're going out and find somebody to tax in order to pay for the tourism director. This is not a good idea from the standpoint of public. It is a killer when it comes to public, and at the end of the year when they write their report, they're going to tell you, like the last report, that Warren Smith debunked that there are more people, tourists, in eastern North Carolina, and there's not even standing room. I mean, it's a big farce.
All right.
One more comment.
Go ahead.
From what I understand, a tourism authority doesn't necessarily need a tourist director. Is that true, Randall? Because Camden County was not that way.
That's correct. As small as this organization would be, I don't think you just have an advisory committee that would be advisory to the Board of Commissioners that would have the final authority on the disbursement of the funds, but you wouldn't need to have a director.
Do we need to be in the tourism business in Beaufort County? I mean, come on. You can get on the internet. You can find out anything you want to find out.
Let's vote.
Internet, I mean, private sector does much better on the
We're going to
internet.
vote. We spend
The
enough
public
time.
sector, that's for daggone sure.
All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 5-2 now. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a study.
Okay. Just a study, that's all it is.
I'm going to remember you said that.
Yeah, but studies always lead to something, or
I know
people
where
will
it's
say.
going.
Why'd you study it for?
Commissioner Flynn.
It's me. Economic development bylaws. In your package that you were sent by email, there's a copy of economic development bylaws. Shortly after that was sent, the chairman of the bylaws committee decided that we still had uncompleted work and called an additional meeting, which I attended. At that meeting, we made additional changes to the bylaws, and we had a lot of good input from Bob Hutes that's sitting in the back there. And it's in your package,
In the addendum section.
in the addendum package, as item 28, final draft on proposed bylaws. And essentially, there's been significant changes. One of the changes is the name of the board has been changed from Beaufort County Economic Development Commission to Beaufort County Economic Development Advisory Board. Another change is that all references to the EDC director have been deleted out of the bylaws. The way the bylaws are written out is Randall's responsibility to supervise the EDC director, and that Randall is also responsible for the job description. Now, he completed the job description today,
And that's up on your desk there.
and that has been put up on your desk, and I know you haven't had time probably to review all the description. I haven't had time to review all the description. Basically, some change to it is the county now appoints 8 members, and each municipality recommends an additional member to the Board of Commissioners for appointment, and the board ourselves does the appointment. In writing the bylaws and the job description, every effort has been made to ensure that the combination of both documents complies with the resolutions that were passed at the meeting last month. And we thought that we needed to look at that completely, and Randall insisted upon it, so we did do that. Are there any questions?
Well, I'd like time to read this before we make a decision.
Well, we can vote next meeting if you want to read it.
I want to read it before we vote, but I think you've done a good job of covering it. If you've covered all those things, we're fine. I have not had a chance to read the description, job description.
I haven't read the job description either.
Can we just bring it back next month?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
Okay. Let's table it until next month.
Okay. Our next item is the jail stat information. Commissioner Richardson.
I think a lot of my questions have been answered by the number of people that we have in jail. We still have a serious problem because we've got about 5 or 6 murderers over there, or serious similar crimes that some of them have been over there, sitting over there for 2 years. And the question that I asked, I felt like I knew the answer, but I had to ask. Their next appearance in court was December the 25th, and I thought, well, I think they just used that as a hole plug to let people know that there is no next appearance, and that sure enough, when I got the answer back, that's what it is. And these are people that, for the most part, have no court appearance scheduled. They have lawyers, and the DA is the driver on this, and it's how much pressure that the DA is willing to put in order for these cases to be brought to trial. And I think that the public should be aware that you've got 6 people sitting over there, and I figured what the cost was. It's something like $60 a day for these guys to sit over there in jail, and it's an injustice to them because their case is not moving forward. It's an injustice to the public because we're paying for it, and the justice system is simply not working. I think the DA, to coin a popular phrase, needs to get off his butt and do his job and get these cases moving, because I'm going to keep bringing this up in here every month until he catches on that it's time for him to go to work. There's no reason for these cases to sit there. And he can give all excuses he wants to about he can't get the judge, but the DA calls the case, and when the DA starts putting pressure on the defense attorney that I'm getting ready to call this case, then the defense attorney has to get on his horse and start doing his job. So it's time to relieve the taxpayers of a lot of this expense by getting these cases going, and that's the main thing that I had. And I want to be on the agenda again next month to see how many of these cases are coming up.
Commissioner McElroy.
My comment was, the guy that was here earlier talking about the public offenders, is some of these attorneys dragging their feet on some of these cases that are holding it. That's my question. Is that why some of them are not coming up?
Okay. Commissioner Clem.
Yeah, I'm sort of with Jay, and I'm with Hood on this too. I think if we're going to have a public defender's office, part of their performance measurement should be getting people to trial. One of the things I would think, if we would reduce our jail population and get it down to a lower level, I would think possibly we might have overestimated how big a jail we might have possibly needed in the future. The way it stands now at the jail meetings, we're talking about a jail of approximately 90,000 square feet that would house about 290 prisoners. Now, the price of such a jail is about $30 million. Now, if we can reduce our jail population and get people to trial a whole lot faster, maybe for the next 30-some years or whatever the jail is designed for, we'd only need to build a 240-bed unit jail. And you just saved about $6 million there, right there. So I think Hood's point is very good. I think Jay's interpretation of it is very good. And if we're going to have a public defender's office, the full expectation of them by the whole Beaufort County Commission is move them people through. That's what needs to be done, because I think it would help this county a whole lot. I really do. Save money.
Anything?
I got a question for the captain. I don't know the answer to this, and maybe you can help me. I'm sorry if I put you on the spot.
It's okay.
I heard Mr. Richardson said some of these people have been in the jail over 2 years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Have they had any outside, have they seen any sunlight at all in 2 years?
Unless they had a doctor's appointment, no, sir.
So they hadn't had no fresh air unless they got bad off sick in over 2 years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That's all.
Thank you. Anything further?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our next item is request permission to apply for Governor's Crime Commission grant, county support with 25% match. The Hodges.
I got to do it in the bathroom.
Thank you, Commissioner. I've been on the Board of Directors for the Purpose of God Annex for about 13 years and currently serve as its president. Bishop Jones was planning to be here tonight, but due to sickness, he could not make the meeting today. Many of you are familiar with our program, Project New Hope. Some of you have attended our graduation ceremonies and have heard firsthand how the program has turned a lot of the lives around with the people that's been serviced by this. It's a very unique program. Project New Hope creates taxpayers for the county by gainfully employ convicted felons that otherwise would not be able to find a job on their own. We are a pathway for the sheriff and the police department because we, in many cases, help break that cycle of crime that some of these county residents seem to be locked into. We're asking for a matching funds. We have the opportunity to apply for a Criminal Justice Improvement Committee funding priority for the year 2013. A federal funding maximum of $90,000 for 1 year only, but they require that we have a mandatory 25% matching funds from the county. We're also requesting that the approved grant funds be set up to pass through the county. We continue to be successful in producing outcomes that's required by the Department of Public Safety, and we've continued to receive JCPC funding for the past 10 years. We are state monitored by the Department of Public Safety, and in October of 2011 we received a high rate of compliance, and JCPC continues to monitor our programs on an annual basis. The last review was done in February of this year. We've had a great record of being successful and productive for Beaufort County. Since we started Project New Hope in the year 2007, we've served over 1,000 participants, with 95% of these being convicted felons or either a series of misdemeanors, which would have prevented a lot of employers from, or prevented them from getting employment from a lot of employers. Bishop Jones has worked with their employers in the area. We have successfully put over 700 people to work. We now have about 85% have not entered back into criminal activity since we began this program, and 45% of those that were placed on jobs have maintained successful employment for those 4 years since we started this. Many of local leaders support Project New Hope, as well as the U.S. House of Representatives, J.K. Butterfield, and also Walter B. Jones. JCPC fully supports our application for these funds and the match that's required, which will provide a great return and an invaluable service for Beaufort County with this investment. Project New Hope consistently conducts our business with a high rate of fidelity and transparency, which should provide the confidence needed to support the program's application for this grant and the requested match. We're asking that the board vote to grant Project New Hope these matching funds of $22,500 in order for us to apply for this $90,000 federal grant. Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richardson.
I don't mind, and I'll make a motion to this effect. I don't have a bit of problem with them applying for the grant. I think it's an imposition on the public for the public to have paid for criminals to have had free attorney. We paid for their jail time. We paid for this. We paid for that. And now we're being asked to pay again additional money. I'll make a motion that we support Bishop Jones in this application, provided that he can find the $22,500 match from another source than the taxpayers' pockets.
Okay.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Question. Information you provided is not very detailed. You talk about all the people put back to work. I would like to see details of the people put back to work. I would also like to see details in relation to retention, in relation to the program. I would like to see details in relation to what employers are participating in these efforts. Just good information that is needed to make some sort of decision of whether I want to even vote for Hood's motion. In other words, I don't even want to vote for that until I have adequate information.
I can furnish that.
And I would like to table this until we do have information that says exactly what you do, exactly what you're going to benefit from, and exactly what your results really have been.
Okay.
And we go ahead and apply for the grant, but I don't know, we might be providing you money and it's not going to be worth doing that. I don't know. I think Bishop Jones does good, but I want to see it in documentation to make an educated grant. Another question I got is you come to the county for the grant, and Hood's right in relation. It would be good if Bishop Jones would go ahead and raise the $22,500. Now, Bishop Jones located in the city, but have you approached the city in relation to the match?
The city funded a grant in 2012 for us on this. That was one similar to this for $70-some thousand on that.
Okay, they made the match in 2012.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is for the 2013 program.
Well, that's the first time I heard this, because I haven't seen a grant from Bishop Jones recently.
No, we haven't. And normally our funding with different grants have been so that we could continue our business without this, but we're just like a lot of other nonprofits. The money is dried up.
Another thing is I like Bishop Jones, and I'd like to personally see him come here. I really would.
Like I said, if he hadn't been for sickness tonight, he would have been here.
Okay. But are you willing to table the motion until we have more information?
I can get that information by our December meeting.
Depends on what the rest of the board's willing to do.
That's fine. Let's see what he come back with.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, we're at our employee travel.
All right, over on page 157, Mr. Chairman, we have the monthly travel request for a total of $11,102.49. You can see this is for departments of social service, finance, health, sheriff's department, detention, inspections, elections, and soil conservation.
Could I ask you to do something?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
There.
Whenever you give us a travel report each month, could you put a number in the same page that says year-to-date how much we have spent on travel? To give us an idea what the trend is?
We may be able to add another column. I don't know if we'll have to redesign our form.
I mean, just a number saying.
Sure.
I'd love to see that.
You mean per employee or?
No, just the total number of dollars.
A total, okay, cumulative.
Cumulative dollars, that's all I want to see.
Yeah. We'll work on that. If we can add another column, we'll. Okay.
We don't need a column for it.
Mr. Chairman, I have a trivial question. On one page on here in the Board of Elections lists Kelly Hopkins, Tom Payne, Archie Harding, and Scott Shepard. Was Scott Shepard recently appointed to the board?
I think so.
Okay.
I asked the same question.
He was appointed by the governor then.
I'm not sure who appointed him, but he's serving on the board of Elections.
You would know, did the Democrat Party make the appointment? Or if they didn't, then the governor would have made the appointment.
It don't come up to us.
The party doesn't make any appointments, the party recommends to the governor.
That's correct.
All appointments are made by the governor.
That's correct, but I mean, there's certain appointments that are recommended.
I did not ask that question when I called. I just didn't know who the person was.
Okay.
Board member.
I was just curious.
We can certainly track that down.
Make it contingent.
No.
The answer you get.
Contingent, yes.
I mean, when is the trip?
He didn't get on the board through me, Republican Party.
That's why we're going to approve it contingent on him actually being lawfully appointed.
Yeah, that's okay.
If he's not lawfully appointed, then he gets deleted.
Okay.
It used to be Vosburg.
Yeah,
he would be
Well, Vosburg's ill, so he wouldn't be traveling anywhere. He's still on the board. Yeah.
Okay.
If he's still on the board, the thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
But we'll get the answer. Whatever action we take can be contingent on whether he is lawful or duly appointed.
There's got to be two of them called because the two Democrats is Archie and Tom.
And what Hood's saying is the Republican Party doesn't know anything about this guy.
So we couldn't do it. I mean, we didn't go to y'all meeting.
Well, so
we come to ours.
And we're always glad to have you.
Yeah, but we left early.
Yeah. You paid for your meal.
All right, what is the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? And that is, you did put in there contingent on him being, right.
What was the
Couldn't
vote?
resist.
Over on page 150.
What was the vote?
5-2.
Okay.
On page 159, you have notification of positions on advisory boards that are expiring, and starting out with the Beaufort Regional Medical Authority, and recommendations for replacements.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, you have a letter from me for for the regional, for the health authority, appointing 3 people to fill slots that have become vacant. One of them is Hood Richardson. We're recommending that Hood Richardson go back on the board. So we need a vote on that.
Oh, no.
That's a motion, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know about that guy. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
You need a second.
No. Ain't nobody else can run against him already.
Well, if you can have a second, it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
How
But
about
you're
if I
right, you
nominate
don't,
Stanger? Go ahead.
Robert's rule.
All right, all in favor?
All right. The second appointment,
Next one.
excuse me, I'm sorry. The second appointment to fill the Sandy Hardy seat is Keith Kidwell. Keith Kidwell, for those that don't know, is the owner of the H&R Block franchise here in Washington.
This is the same one ran for the school board.
No, it's his brother.
Oh, okay.
So that's a motion.
Anybody else for this position? All right. Might need to vote then, I don't think. Or do we need to vote?
We need to vote.
I think we
We need to vote.
Which is it, consensus?
Consensus, I'm for it.
All right, all in favor?
Okay, you got, hang on.
Okay.
All right, the third appointee is to fill the Clifton Gray seat on the board, and that is Roy Simpson. Roy's a retired school teacher, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we know him.
Yeah, we know, yeah, I know, yeah.
Broderick's father.
Yeah.
Any other names? Their consensus, well, all in favor? 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
All right, planning board.
Didn't we do this a few months ago?
I think we did.
That's when we added Tony Keach to it.
Yeah, didn't we vote on the planning board?
I think we did.
I think we did too. I think that's an error on my part.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You made your first mistake for the year.
Almost made it through a year.
I move we forgive her.
Second.
All right, Region Q EMS, 5 counties.
I move we approve the same ones.
Stupid thing.
Okay, have a motion, there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 7-0. Okay, the Beaufort County Community Advisory Council, have Ida Winbush and Zula Bailey. I mean let them stay, because you know how long it took us to get those?
That's right. Don't do anything.
Right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Took us a year to do it.
They recommend a new appointment.
There's an additional.
Small.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll
Let him go too.
we'll add him into Richard Small.
Let
Now,
him go.
now, he's being added for 1 year of training.
Okay,
Gotta serve
that was at the year of training first.
Yeah. Serve before you're on the board.
Okay.
Did you vote on that one?
Yes, it was unanimous.
The screen went blank.
Yeah, we'll wait on the economic development. We'll do that next month.
Mr. Chairman, one item just to point out, in your add-on packet, we do have a volunteer application for the EDC that you'll be able to consider at the December meeting.
Okay.
It's in the packet.
All right.
Now, the terms of those on the board would just be extended until we appoint somebody.
I agree, they would continue to serve.
Next month we'll do it. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? Planning board.
Resolution on insurance rates, I think, be
Yeah.
I'll vote to lower them.
Yeah, I think we need to support them with an identical resolution to Carteret Board of County Commissioners. That wouldn't hurt. We could send something up there. And it's a very well-written resolution, by the way. I don't know if they wrote it themselves or they copied somebody else's, but it was very good.
That will go to our legislators in Raleigh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to vote on
And
that?
to the insurance commissioner, who was the same guy, who said that he was willing to make some changes to help us down east when he was running.
All in favor, raise your right
During
hand.
the campaign.
That was during the campaign.
Okay.
You didn't make it up.
No, elected the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said that wasn't his fault before.
County manager's report.
Yeah, right.
I believe that.
I hammered him pretty good.
I believe that.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to ask, did you mean did I miss item 14?
What is that?
We're about to close session
Fund
minutes.
balance.
It was a cash on hand.
The cash on hand, you'd asked for information, it's just FYI, so we don't need to do anything, I just wanted
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that was my item. If I just might add to that, I saw somewhere in the general statutes the other day that the finance director is required to submit twice a year a report to the local government commission.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. We haven't been seeing that report.
Okay.
I think that report needs to be in our commissioner's book, and that's why I don't have a whole lot of questions on the fund balance, although it looks like it's vastly improved from what it has been. Congratulations to everybody on that. But I think we could see that 6 months report. Would
Yeah,
do us
that's
a lot of
fine.
good.
I can submit it to you right after I submit it, the meeting after I submit it to LGC.
Yeah.
And that is, the difference in that and the narrative that I put together is that encompasses everything that we have in the bank account the day of June 30th. So it would include any special project funds, or it doesn't distinguish between general fund and, so
Right.
occasionally it may look like we have a lot of money in the bank, but a lot of that's restricted. And I can supplement that report with a breakdown, but it is cash in the bank.
And what you did, your report was fine, and one of the reasons that I'm satisfied with it is that the manager and you are not screaming, we got to go out and get a short-term loan. So I'm satisfied with it.
Or we're not asking people to pay their taxes early, although that is appreciated.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to give you a brief update on the committee so the public will be aware of all these active committees we have. The jail committee, which we had a little bit of discussion on earlier, has been active for over a year now, and the work is sort of winding down. We've had excellent participation all year. We will be meeting again in the month of December for probably would be our final meeting prior to the commissioners' retreat in February, mid to late February. And at that point, the committee will turn over their work back to the Board of Commissioners for the further discussions on site selection and et cetera on that project. But I do think we've had excellent leadership from the Mosley architect firm. They've guided us through the year-long study of the process, determining what type of facility we need, what size, what technology we want in it. We've all gone, committee members have gone and visited 5 or 6 different facilities around the state, which has been very beneficial. We've learned a lot about jails. So I think the committee has functioned extremely well. Next, on the Animal Control Committee, that will be meeting next week, will be the next, I believe it's next Monday, and that meeting has been advertised publicly already for anyone that wants to come and participate. Next, the Solid Waste Committee has not begun functioning yet. We anticipate that they will be meeting probably for the first time in December or January after the new commissioners come on board. That committee is crucial that we start our discussions as due to our contracts with solid waste companies are coming due in the next 2 years, so we need to begin that study process. Also, the Tricentennial Committee, which has also met for over a year now, is winding down its work. We have 2 events left. On December 2nd, we will be with the town of Bath at the Christmas parade on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And we'll have an activity there in the gym at the old school, serving cake to the public after the parade is over, refreshments, that kind of thing. And that will be our last event out. And then the final event will be over at Northside High School, where we will be hosting the University Choir from Elizabeth City State University in Elizabeth City. They will be here to perform a Christmas group of music. It's going to be a very exciting night. I think we'll really all enjoy that. They have traveled all over the East Coast performing. This is an outstanding group of musicians, so we look forward to that. That will be at 7 p.m. on Thursday, December the 6th, out at Northside. So I hope we'll have a great attendance for that. And then the last committee is the IT committee. Has also been meeting for at least 6 or 7 months as well, working on the issues of software, IT in various departments, mainly focused on the register of deeds and the tax office. The register of deeds portion has been completed. The upgrades have been approved by this board, and that I think most of those have been implemented at this point or in the process of being implemented. On the tax office, we have met with probably 6 or 7 vendors over this time to have presentations, and we've narrowed it down to 2 final vendors that we are interested in. And before we make a final recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, we will meet one more time to gain a few more facts and figures from both of these 2 companies, and then possibly by December or the January meeting, we will be here the committee will be making a full recommendation to this board on how to proceed, which software vendor to go with, and set up a plan on how to implement the transition and conversion from our current system to a new system. So Mr. Parker and his staff have been really involved in this. The IT committee has worked a lot, put in a lot of time and energy on this. It doesn't sound nearly as complicated as it is, but that tax collection system is one of the most important things we do in this county to support this local government, and we have to do it right and make sure we ask all the questions. So I think we worked really hard and had good presentations from the vendors, and I hope that we will have that final recommendation in the next 2 minutes. I think that's all. There's one reminder here for you about, I think we advised each of you about some closed session minutes that we have reviewed, and for your, now it's been given you for your review and consideration, and the intent is to release a large portion of these closed session minutes if you concur. So that is, and we'll have that discussion at the next meeting.
Okay. Did we talk about the meeting with social services? Is that in December or is that this month?
November. It'll be the last week of November on the 27th, we believe, at 3:30 in the afternoon, and they'll be there. All their department section chiefs will be giving us an overview of their different services and things they do there.
What's the status of their so-called annual report that we asked them for?
I think it's going to be presented that day.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anything further?
Closed session minutes for approval, items 19 and 20. Not the big book, but the.
No, I had
have in your
I'm
orange
full now.
Okay.
packet.
Why don't you just go up there and look at the time?
Items 19 and 20 is closed session.
Nobody's looked at them.
Yeah.
Okay, put them on for next month.
Yes.
See, too tight, we'll get to it.
Anything further? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second to adjourn?
Second.
All in
That's
favor?
heavy stuff.
Which one do you write?
7-0. Adjourn. Mayo, you got something for me?
That one?
Yeah.